The matchmaking EOMM Boogeyman in the Closet video has officially dropped. I don't know what's in here, but I'm very interested to see, because if you didn't see it, I already was a little spooked with how they were talking about matchmaking, because it's such a complex system. Granted, I think matchmaking in Rivals is pretty bad. Do I think it's because of EOMM? No. I think there's other issues at play. However, though, their matchmaking could use to be improved. Regardless, though, it's finally here. Let's roll.
Hi, Rivals. I'm Zuyong. We've heard your passionate feedback and ongoing discussions about matchmaking and ranking in Marvel Rivals. Your voices matter, and we want to give you a transparent look into how these systems work and what we are doing to improve them. Quick heads up, any numbers used are for illustrative purpose only, and the calculation process is also simplified for easier understanding and does not represent the full detailed formulas.
Okay, makes sense. How competitive points are calculated.
After every competitive match, your score is calculated based on two key components, base points and performance points, each weighted according to your current rank. The formula looks like this.
So it is K equals A times base points plus parentheses 1 minus A multiplied by performance points. I'm sure they're going to explain it. They didn't explain it. Chat, we have to do fucking math. You gotta be shitting me. They fucking knew my weakness. Not math! So K, I'm sure, equals how many points you get, right? They will explain it later? Okay, all right. Unless you baited me. I might have got one guide.
This depends on match outcome, your current competitive score, average competitive score of the enemy team. First, the match result determines whether you gain or lose points. Win and you will gain points, lose and you will lose points.
Okay.
Second, the difference between your competitive score and the enemy team's average competitive score affects how many points you gain or lose. If a player's competitive score is lower than that of the enemy team, the system recognizes that the player is challenging a stronger opponent.
Okay, so if a player's competitive score is lower than that of the enemy team, the recognized will be stronger opponent. So I'm assuming the inverse will also be true.
In this case, a victory will grant an extra bonus to the base points, while a defeat will result in fewer points deductions.
So there's a reason why we have this emo called expected. In Overwatch, there was the ranking system they eventually changed. Expected means that your team was predicted to win, aka higher rank. That's what this basically means, is that the matchmaker goes, okay, their team has a higher chance of winning. So if you do win that game, you actually get a bunch of points. But the opposite happens, where if you win against a team that has a much higher chance of winning, you get uphill battle, which means you get wait, did I say that already? You get a bunch of points if you win against a team that's supposed to win. And if you lose against that team, you don't lose as many points, right? So basically the system is like, if you are higher ranked than the enemy team and you win, you get a little points. If you lose a bunch of points. And the inverse is also true.
The reverse applies when facing lower ranked teams.
Yes. So it has nothing to do with if you get steamrolled or not. A lot of people think match quality has something to do with it. Granted, they're going to get into it in a second. So like actual performance matters, right? Like performance also is taken into account, but this is the base of the formula. So each game, before, like you haven't even taken in performance yet, no matter what, if you are ranked higher than the enemy team and you win, you get little points. If you're ranked lower than the enemy team and you win, you get more points. Then individual performance bonus is additional to that. So before you even talk about how the game went, the game already decides, boom, you're either going to be getting this much or this much points, like higher or lower.
Examples: players' competitive score 3,500, enemy team's average 3,500, win plus 20 base points, lost minus 20 base points.
So again, there's no individual bonus. This right here, this formula, doesn't matter if it's a 9-9 absolute slugfest or a 3-minute long full hold spawn held game.
Players competitive scored 3,500. Enemy teams average 3,700. Win plus 25 base points. Lost minus 15 base points. Players competitive score 3,500. Enemy teams average 3,300. Win plus 15 base points. Lost minus 25 base points.
Which is also why sometimes you have a game where you feel like you absolutely pop the fuck off and you don't get a whole lot of points. It's because your team was higher rated and you probably were on the highest end of the higher rated players on your team. And then you pop off and your performance bonus gives you about what you should have got for a normal game. So you look at it and you go, what the fuck? I only got 21 points, right? But you went crazy. Well, guess what? If you didn't go crazy, you would have got like 16. So that's where, if everyone keeps asking where to watch it, dude, listen, I had to go into the depths of Discords to find this. I had to download it, all right? The only version that I think is public out there right now is Twitter. So you are in the right place to see this shit, okay? Other than that, hey, good luck scouring the internet or watching it on Twitter with 6 pixels. Anyways, regardless though, this is without individual performance.
This reflects your individual performance tailored to your hero's role. Performance points reflect how well you played during the match.
Yep.
Because heroes in Marvel Rivals have widely different powers and roles, we don't just tally up stats. Even if 2 players contribute equally to the outcome, their raw stats may look very different depending on which hero they played.
True.
Instead, to accurately evaluate your impact, we use several steps to calculate performance points.
I wonder if it's individual, like every single hero, like they have like different numbers for them.
For each hero used in the match, we normalize match stats to a per 10-minute value and convert that into a single performance value.
What?
We compare that to the average performance value for that same hero at your rank, also per 10 minutes.
So they do.
That gives a hero-specific performance coefficient. The better you perform versus the average, the higher your coefficient. If you played multiple heroes, we time weight those to get your match coefficient. We then compare your performance coefficient to your team's average to determine your final performance points.
But basically, it has a number, right? It says like, for 10 minutes, on average, you should do 5,000 damage at your rank. Let's say you did 7,000 damage, boom, the game thinks, okay, you're better than your rank, you popped off, right? If you do less than 5,000, let's say you did 3,000 damage, the game might go, you got carried a bit. That's base stats. Then it goes into hero specific after. So then it will look at, okay, how much damage does that hero do? So instead of 5,000 damage per 10, let's say something like Spider-Man, who does less, only does 3,000 per 10 on average. It will then calculate off of that and go, oh, you're actually playing Spider-Man most of the time, or if not the whole time, 3,000 actually is average. And so you'll get an average amount of points, even though it's less than what it should have been, or like the average for that rank. But I don't know actually if it does both. I'm actually unsure. Because it kind of sounds like it's both, but like, shouldn't number 2 overwrite number 1? Because then you can just like hard stack like big numbers and climb a bunch? Because that's what was originally happening. I'm sure they'll answer it, but I'm still going to talk about it till we get there, right? If we played multiple heroes, we time weight those to get your match coefficient. So if you're swapping a bunch, and then we compare your performance coefficient to your team's average to determine your final performance points. So basically everyone on your team is fighting for the points. And so if everyone on your team is competing, right, the higher your numbers are on your team relative to your hero and the rank you're performing in means you'll get the most points. So like if I play Luna and I get 30,000 healing, and the average for my rank is 20,000 healing, and then the person next to me is playing Hela, and they get 5,000 damage, and the average for that is 3,000, or actually let's say 4,000, I'm doing much more percentage-wise than the average, so I will get more of the points, which is crazy.
In your final performance points. Examples. A Diamond 1 player spends 4 minutes as Loki and 6 minutes as Invisible Woman in a 10-minute match. Let's break down the performance points calculation. First, the system converts their in-game stats to 10-minute averages and then convert them into performance value. Assuming Loki has a performance value of 1,200 and Invisible Woman has 1,000. Next, the system finds the average performance value for Diamond 1 players with those heroes, which we will assume Loki and Invisible Woman both are 1,000.
Okay.
We then calculate the performance coefficients. Loki's coefficient is 1.2, while Invisible Woman's is 1. This is then weighted by playtime.
So just to be clear on what I was saying before, I forgot that it's not just one stat. So when I was saying my healing with Luna or healing damage with Hela, it's not just those, it's all of the stats combined. So kills, heals, damage, etc.
Overall coefficient works out to be 1.08. Finally, this player's coefficient is compared to the other 5 teammates. Let's say that they are 1.
You really are competing with everyone.
0.8, 0.8, and 1.15, resulting in an average of 0.97. This gives us the final adjusted performance coefficient of 1.11.
So you really are competing with all your teammates every game. But also this is why when they swapped the system back in Season 2, remember all the support players weren't getting as many points, and so everyone stopped playing support, and then they changed the way it worked. If you have someone that's stealing kills, you could be getting less points. Actually crazy.
Of 0.97. This gives us the final adjusted performance coefficient of 1.11.
Weight of base points and performance points.
Once both your base points and performance points are calculated, your final score is determined by weighting these two parts. The weights vary by rank. As you climb the ranks, the weighting of base points will gradually increase, while performance points weighting decreases. In lower ranks, performance points have a higher weight to help skilled players rise faster.
That's
Higher ranks
always what I
shift
imagined.
weight towards base points for consistency.
Whoa, what? Say that again? Hang on.
In lower ranks, performance points have a higher weight to help skilled players rise faster. Higher ranks shift weight towards base points for consistency.
So if you're in the bronze to diamond rank and you aren't climbing quickly, it is actually the system is designed to give you more points based off individual performance. Thus, if you performed well consistently, you would actually climb faster than I would in my rank performing well. If you and I both performed, say, 5% better than the average of our ranks, and you're in silver and I'm in, say, celestial, I would climb much slower than you. Isn't it the opposite? No, it is not. It says it values individual performance stronger in lower ranks, and higher ranks is more on base points, aka prioritizing winning the game. We have literally always known this. Griffin, look at the chatters. You can see them all around you. They're literally confused. It's not common knowledge. This is literally not common knowledge. That's why we've had this whole discussion for weeks about the EOMM demons. Sorry, I backed up one more time, but see, listen.
Performance points have a higher weight to help skilled players rise faster.
See?
Higher ranks shift weight towards base points for consistency. Example. A player wins a rank match, earning 20 base points and 30 performance points. If the player is in silver, with a base point weight of 0.4 and a performance point weight of 0.6, the final score gained is 26. If the player is in Celestial with a base point weight of
My exact
0.7
example!
and a performance point weight of 0.3, the final score game is 23.
To a T! Holy shit. Oh, that's actually so bad. Oh, you know for a fact that some guy's gonna come out there and be like, so how much you get paid? Shill. How much did you get paid? How much did you get paid? God. Feels like Overwatch all over again. How much do you get paid? Tell me! Tell me! Matchmaking system overview.
Our players hail from all corners of the globe, each with different time zones and connection speeds.
Yeah.
Balancing fast matchmaking with fair matches has always been our challenge and focus for ongoing improvement.
Okay, so let me translate that very quickly. It sounds like every game has this issue where you try to balance fast queues, but also a quality match. I would bet Rivals leans faster on quicker queues as opposed to more tight matchmaking. That would be my guess.
In Marvel Rivals,
To take it one step further, because they said different parts of the globe and different time zones, I bet it could potentially be different depending on where you live. So, for example, I wonder especially if like Asia region, where there's not many people playing, has much lighter restrictions to get you in a game quicker than say NA.
players are matched based on server node selection, team composition, competitive score.
What?
Once matchmaking
Team composition?
starts, the system looks for opponents on your
What?
chosen server or servers. As wait time increases, the system gradually expands the search to higher and lower ranks,
Yep.
helping you get into a match promptly. The expansion is kept to prevent unbalanced games.
Yep.
Once we have 12 players within the acceptable rank range, the match is set.
Before anybody freaks out, that is how every matchmaker fucking works, by the way. That is legitimately how every matchmaker works. It starts very, very strict and then works its way out, supposedly. Depends on what their timer is, though. Their timer might be 5 seconds. It could be a minute. Like, in Overwatch's, theirs is pretty long, but it's also roll queue and a lot of other shit, which is why it ends up being really long queues for that game, as opposed to Rivals, which is very, very quick. But I'm assuming also, yeah. So solo queue is not the move. I don't think it would have any difference, to be honest with you. But regardless, though, if anything on solo queue, it just like you can just slot you in anywhere, so that wouldn't matter.
Teams are then arranged to minimize differences in average competitive scores.
Oh, wait, it formulates the match and then puts you on the teams? I thought it would pull team and then put them together. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if that's how we get some of the weird games. Wait a minute. That's probably why you get really weird games sometimes, because like if you have two people on, you're almost guaranteed to always have the best player and the worst player on the same team. Sorry, you should be guaranteed to have the worst player and the best player on the team all the time. And then the other team will be more in the middle. That's why you have those games against like actual Thanos, where like some guy on the enemy team is just killing everyone. No, not always. They use it as an example. Wait, they literally just said though that
Once we have 12 players within the acceptable rank
So you have 12 players within an acceptable rank range, so they're going to be 1, 2 through 12.
range, the match is set.
Okay.
Teams are then arranged to minimize differences in average competitive scores.
So like if they're trying to make the average say 3,500, right? And you have someone in the game that is 4,000 rating, they need to put the guy who's 3,000 rating on the same team to get to 3,500, right? Or at least close to it, theoretically. But I guess they could technically do like not the worst guy. They could just do like the bottom 2 or like bottom 3 or something like that. I guess technically, yeah, you're right. I guess that's possible. That is possible. That's a good point.
Team matchmaking is based on team size. For fairness, a 6-player team will only face another 6-player team. Finding an exact match can take time when...
Wait, I thought 6 stacks were gone.
Team matchmaking is based on team size. For fairness, A 6-player team will only face another 6-player team.
Is this for quick play or for gold and below, maybe?
Finding an exact match can take time when taking into account all the factors, like competitive scores, server selection, etc.
Yep.
Since launch, 5-player teams have been disabled to protect solos.
Which is smart.
For other team size, the system opens up to more combinations as wait time increases. Take a 4-player team, for example. The first system tries to match with another 4-player team, but if none are promptly found, it will eventually expand to mixed teams like 4-1-1 versus 3-2-1. Longer waits means broader competitive scores ranges, and reaching the upper limit of the range can result in a difference in scores between the two teams. From the matchmaking results, this would appear to be an unbalanced battle. However, tightening the rules would mean much longer waits and a bad experience. This is the core challenge, balancing matchmaking quality and speed. Team queues make this speed versus quality trade-off more noticeable. At higher ranks,
Hang on, pause before we get too far. So did they just say like, yeah, we try to, but like we'd rather have you have a faster queue? That's what that said, right? Like we don't want the queues to be too long. So they choose not like, they basically said like, yeah, if you 4-stack, like it's hard to make you a game. So we just say, okay, we just throw people in, which is probably why they want to take away a lot of the grouping. It's capped though, true. It is capped, but that is how you get like 4-stack versus like 2-3, 3-2-1, etc. I'm gonna do that one more time just to be sure.
An unbalanced battle. However, tightening the rules would mean much longer waits and a bad experience. This is the core challenge.
So they know getting you into a video or getting you into a game is important.
And speed. Team queues make this speed versus quality trade-off more noticeable. At higher ranks, there are fewer players and they are spread across different servers.
This is why they took it away for the higher ranks.
So, after careful...
So this is why they took away stacking, especially when you're Celestial and above. That's why it's duo queue only. That's why they took away, I think, anything above 4 past Plat. Is it Plat, I think? It's like 3 only until you get to Celestial, and then it's 2, I believe. And so you still get a quick game. Wow.
For review, starting in Season 3.5.
Isn't that a little worrying, though? That means that the player base has probably dropped off pretty significantly at those ranks. Right? Because... I don't know.
With temporarily restricted teams of 4 or 6 players from matchmaking at higher ranks, where their balanced matches are harder to find. Moving forward, we will continue to explore new solutions to better meet the diverse needs of players.
Or it just means there's not many 4-stacks. No. It means that the pool has gotten smaller, which means that you want to have as few stacks as possible because there's less stacks to put them against, and so they have to put them against regular groups. So if you get rid of all the stacks, you basically release all of those players that are tightened up in stacks and also causing bad matches because of like duo queue games versus 4-stack or whatever. You basically unlock all of them, and so you don't have to worry about putting all those groups versus other groups or waiting for long games or putting people against the groups and they have a bad time. So it basically is trying to make solo duo queue experience better at the cost of stacks, but the stacks are also causing longer queues because they have to wait for another stack, or they have to put them against people that they don't like. You know what I mean?
To help you better understand how the matchmaking system works, here's an example scenario. Suppose Player A teams up with Player B and Player C to queue for competitive. In this scenario, Player A is Diamond 1, Player B is Diamond 3, Player C is Platinum 1. The average rank of this 3-player team is around Diamond 3. They select only the Oregon server node for matchmaking. Since there aren't enough teams of the same size and rank in the queue on this node, the matchmaking system gradually expands the search range as time passes. After 5 minutes, the system finds 9 more players who meet the criteria. These 9 players include another 3-player team with an average rank of Plat.
not to be a conspiracy theorist, but couldn't you technically mid-max the system at that point because you just select one server and you play as a group, and then it will have to find a wider match for you so you have a higher chance of winning, or a higher chance of getting stomped, I guess, depending on how good you are.
Diamond 1, a 2-player team with an average rank of Diamond 2, and 4 solo players. Player D, Diamond 1, Player E, Diamond 2, Player F, Platinum 1, Player G, Diamond 2. To ensure fairness, the system first places the 2 3-person teams on opposite sides. Then, the remaining team compositions are Side A, 3-player team plus...
So it's a 3? Wait, so this is a 3? A 4? A 3 and a 2. Okay. Because they said they were going to put the 3s on opposite teams.
To ensure fairness, the system first places the 2 3-person teams on opposite sides.
Right, but they can't.
Then...
Oh, the 4 is solo. Oh, these are 4 solo gamers. Oh, okay, apologies. All right, that's why I was confused.
Diamond 2. To ensure fairness, the system first places the 2 3...
Yeah, so then the 2 stacks go on opposite teams, sides. Yes.
Then, the remaining team compositions are Side A, 3-player team plus 2-player team plus 1 solo player. Side B, 3-player team plus 3 solo players. Now, the exact team split is determined by the solo players to make both sides' average ranks as close as possible. The fairest division is Side A, 3-player team, Diamond 3 average, plus 2-player team, Diamond 2 average, plus Player F, Platinum 1. Side B, 3-player team, Platinum 1 average, plus Player D, Diamond 1, plus Player E, Diamond 2, plus Player G, Diamond 2.
Yeah.
In this scenario, there are still notable rank gaps within each side. For example, Side A's Player F, Platinum 1, and Side B's Player D, Diamond 1, each have a 2 to 3 division differences from their teammates.
And there's actually 2 Platinum 1s, by the way, because this group up here has a Platinum 1. Their average is just Diamond 3 together, though.
This means there can be internal team imbalances. Assume once the match begins, the roles...
But I guess their rank is a 3-stack is Platinum 1, so I guess it's fair.
Actions are as follows. Side A, the 3-player team picks a Vanguard Player A, Duelist Player B, and Strategist Player C. The 2-player team chooses a Vanguard and a Duelist. Player F, a Duelist main, sticks with his preferred role instead of filling the missing Strategist slot. To balance the team, the Duelist Player B from the 3-player team fills as a Strategist. Side B, the 3-player team picks a Vanguard, Duelist, and Strategist. Player D picks an additional Strategist. Player E picks another Vanguard. Player G picks another Duelist. We believe that this is a situation many players have encountered before. In this case, Side B has a strategic advantage, as all 6 players are playing their main roles. On Side A, a Duelist main is forced
So, we're not there yet. The matchmaker knows what my main role is?
to fill as a strategist. And the lowest ranked player is also playing Duelist, which may weaken the team's synergy.
Well, it says that they're going to have an advantage to win. Is it just because we know it's going to have an advantage to win, or is the matchmaker knows it has an advantage to win? So it's going to say, it says sometimes that you get unlucky. Right. Okay. Well, I'm surprised they didn't just say that then. Because it's like, they said they have a, in this case, Side B has a strategic advantage.
Player G picks another Duelist. We believe that this is a situation many players have encountered before. In this,
it implies, if it doesn't say, I am of the belief in complex topics like this, you should try to be as literal as possible. That's all.
case, Side B has a strategic advantage, as all 6 players are playing their main roles. On Side A, a Duelist main is forced to fill as a strategist. And the lowest ranked player is also playing Duelist, which may weaken the team's synergy.
Right. So basically, the game, there will be games where if you're stuck filling, you're going to have a less chance of winning, but that doesn't have any effect on the matchmaker.
Recently, we have received a lot of feedback from the community, with many players believing that our matchmaking system employs EOMM, engagement optimized matchmaking. This would imply manipulating the matchmaking queue to keep players' win rates around 50%, ensuring they remain engaged.
50-50 win rate, you say? Dude, time really is a flat fucking circle.
We want to be clear. Marvel Rivals does not use EOMM. So, why do some matches feel uneven? Why do certain players encounter win or loss streaks? We would like to take this opportunity to provide some insights, hoping to clarify some of the confusion for everyone.
We don't believe you. I want to speak to you personally for half a second. There was no real scenario where you would have been happy, to be honest with you. Doesn't matter. It's not real. Like you would have always been upset. Like, why there's three scenarios. One, they're lying to you, right? They're lying to you right at this exact moment. Why are they lying to you? Oh, because they're trying to make money. Boom. That's actually really good logic. However, though, matchmaking is complex. Okay? And I literally, am not joking. I mean this as nicely as I can say it. Everyone does go on wins and loss streaks. And granted, I actually think the matchmaking of this game is kind of dog shit. That's different, though, than the game artificially fucking you to try to get you to play more. That is not real. Does the matchmaking sometimes get you streaks that shouldn't happen and sometimes feels like the games are unbalanced? Absolutely. But I'm not joking. I can't wait for this video to go out. There was a guy who went viral on Twitter this past week in Rivals who basically was talking about he showed a clip of some demon in his game. And I cooked them by accident too hard on the podcast, the SVB podcast. And so I offered him a free review in which I would spectate him. And we watched it on stream. And I'm just telling you right now, when that drops, you should go watch it. I have not cooked someone this hard in like 3 years. It was absolutely embarrassing that this plat gold player who was previously diamond was doing. Like, the fact that you could say that this guy was diamond at some point was insanity. And so what I'm saying to you is that I understand the matchmaking is not good. There's actually issues with it, but that's different than EOMM / artificially fucking you to try to get you to play more often. And by believing really heavily into that, you deflect from the actual base and staying closer to the root of the problem, which is just like the matchmaking itself isn't good. It makes a harder time for us to have a conversation to improving it and asking for what you actually want, because there's no boogeyman in the closet that's coming in your games to try to get you to play more. All right, let's continue.
In a competitive two-sided game, the fewer players on each side, the more accurately the competitive score reflects individual skill. However, as team size increases, this accuracy drops, since even if both teams have identical average scores, other factors like teamwork and coordination can sway the outcome. True. Additionally, because we don't lock roles, players might end up playing a role they are less comfortable with, which means they may not perform at their rank's full potential. Even if you are assigned your preferred role, playing a hero you are less skilled with can also affect your impact in the match. True, because don't forget what they said earlier about individual impact per 10 minutes on that hero. If you're, say, GM and you play mostly tank, right, and then you flex to support and you play Luna, you are most likely going to play a worse Luna at GM than everyone else around you. So not only are you flexing, so you're not playing your proper role, so you're going to play less, not as good,
but then you're also probably playing worse than the people at your rank on that character. And then if you take it one step further, where you end up playing something that you're even worse at, right? Because you have to fill, like you're not even filling for something like your best support. Let's say your second best support, right? Like let's say you play a lot of Luna to fill, but then you're stuck on, I don't know, Adam, right? And then your Adam stats are even worse, but you're filling because like you don't want to take away the guy on your team who actually plays support slot. You're playing even worse than you could have played on your flex role. So, you know, Flats, I am being artificially I have 10 games this season, and 4 of those are losses because someone crashed mid-game when we were winning. They keep putting these potato gamers in my tram. We are literally past mid-season. Why are you only have 10 games played? That is such a small pool to pull from. And I'm sorry that happened. But like you gotta put, if you put more games in, it will literally, those get washed away over time. Try it.
So why don't we add row Q first?
Scared. Oh god, I just almost shit myself. That scared me. I didn't see that coming.
So why don't we add row Q? First, we believe that allowing players the freedom to play as their favorite superheroes and team up with others to create diverse creative team combos encourages more varied strategies and gameplay. Second, adding role-based matchmaking would significantly increase queue times, while still failing to fully eliminate skill discrepancies between matches.
There's another game in the room potentially with us that we could all look towards to see why he is correct on those 2 points.
Where there are choices, there will be differences. Objectively, it's quite challenging to have an equal number of players across the 3 roles. To strike a balance between matchmaking speed and fairness, the competitive score ranges for each role would have to differ. Roles with fewer players would have lower competitive score thresholds, while roles with more players would require higher thresholds. This, in turn, will lead to greater variance in match quality. We are working.
I actually didn't understand that part. One more time? I thought it was basically saying because there's less players playing it, the longer queues.
Significantly increase queue times, while still failing to fully eliminate skill discrepancies between matches.
Period.
Where there are choices, there will be differences.
Yep.
Objectively, it's quite challenging to have an equal number of players across the 3 roles.
And typically tank is by far the lowest. I would assume rival support is probably second lowest. And DPS is highest. That might not be 100% true though anymore. That's just my guess.
To strike a balance between matchmaking speed and fairness,
yes,
the competitive score ranges for each role would have to differ.
Oh, so he's saying is like, okay, so like right now, right, the example they used was 3,500, and so like the within acceptable range is like 3,700 to 3,300. They would have to widen that to say 4,000 and 3,000 to make sure they could get a match in time because of role queue, they would have longer queues because they have less, like, say, tank players to pull from. Does that make sense?
Roles with fewer players would have lower competitive score thresholds, while roles with more players would require higher thresholds.
Yes. Okay, so basically, like if you were playing tank, for example, you would have like if you were 3,500 rating, you would probably have almost every game be like 3,600 or 3,700 versus 3,300, right? But if you played, say, DPS, which had like the most players, you might have like, instead of 3,500 and then those upper and lower thresholds, it might be like 4,200 and 2,800, right? Like, so the discrepancy is much bigger to try to get you a game. So like what they're trying to tell you is even with role queue, the matchmaking could potentially be worse. I understand what he was saying.
This, in turn, will lead to greater variance.
I understand now.
Quality.
Okay, I'm glad I went back.
We are working to introduce more interesting vanguards and strategies in future updates to give players more choices.
Oh!
But these changes will take time to develop.
Oh.
We thank you for your patience.
Oh man, it still sounds like it's gonna be they're planning that for next year now because the train's already rolling on all the changes for the next year. Oh boy, oh man, oh jeez. Oh, wins and loss streaks. Okay.
Statistically, win and loss streaks are a matter of probability. For example, if two sides are truly 50-50, over 3 games, the chance of 3 consecutive wins or losses is 12.5%. Over 10 games, the chance of 3 or more wins or losses in a row rises to 50%. So, over enough games, everyone will eventually experience win or loss streaks.
Whoa.
For those interested, you can use tools to calculate the probability of achieving a streak, whether it's 5 consecutive wins or 5 consecutive losses, under different win rate scenarios over 10 matches. Of course,
Oh, they know for a fact we're not doing math. Oh, they said, you know what? Here's math. And we're all like, you got us.
the game isn't pure math. Several in-game factors can increase the likelihood and impact of streaks, making these experiences feel more pronounced. For example,
True.
team average scores are rarely perfectly balanced, so actually win rates may not be exactly 50%. When queuing consecutively, you may face some of the same players in back-to-back games, which can carry over the outcome chance from previous matches. This is
He just said, yeah, sometimes you're going to queue into the same people who just rolled your ass and you're going to get rolled twice. Get rolled. Holy shit.
even more common in team matchmaking, where the pool of available combinations is smaller.
True. So if you queue as a group, you're going to go against groups more often, and because the pool of players to pull from for groups is already so much smaller, and they're going to be both hitting queue at the same time, especially after a game finishes, they're both going to queue up. The game is going to go, oh, these two groups are similar rank. They just played each other, but the only ones that we can pull from right now to get a fast game, boom. You'll face the same people multiple times, and that gets incrementally worse the higher you climb as well.
Especially during off-peak hours or in less populated regions.
Like, yeah, if you watch any like nighttime streamers, like 2 in the morning, you'll see that they're always playing against the same people with the same people because it's the only people that are on.
Even if the probability of a streak occurring is just 1%, Marvel Rivals' large player base means many will experience that.
So they said with the math, there are going to be players who go on crazy big win streaks and lose streaks. And that statistically, the more games you play, the more chances you have of having a big win streak or getting a big losing streak. But always there'll be outliers too. They just explained basic probability. I mean, all of this is basically probability. No?
We are constantly analyzing feedback and refining our systems. Your trust and input help us shape a better experience. Thank you for being part of the Marvel Rivals community. We are excited to keep improving with you.
Damn. The engagement bait competitive system, that's the real problem. What the fuck is the engagement bait competitive system? What the fuck are you talking about? Are you talking about how they reset the ranks every season? Yeah, they do. They put everybody on the treadmill. They love to do that, yeah. I think that's a bit of an outdated thing that people have started to figure out because a lot of games used to do that, where they used to just reset constantly. The hell is the same thing, actually Overwatch used to do a lot of resets. They kind of chilled out on it, which is actually nice. I started to get tired of it in that game too. I'm glad they did, because it's annoying. The real problem is they do constant rank resets with no placements. Yes? Yeah, that's not engagement bait. Like, that's just them not having... That's them not having placement matches. That's not engagement bait matchmaking. That doesn't make any sense. That's not what that is. That's just making shit up. You're right though. There should be placement matches. Regardless though, yeah, there should be placement matches. And also, the way the matchmaking works in the game makes sense, but also like they make a good point. There's probably a lot of games that you get where you have people that are flexing onto other things and they're not playing a role that they're strong at. And people do go on win streaks and loss streaks, and they didn't even talk about any of the psychological aspect. They literally hit this with just math. Everything in this was straight math. There was nothing about how You know, people bump into a Smurf and they tilt really hard, or they think someone's a Smurf, or they tilt off their teammates and start arguing. They're off-rolling. They just want to try something new. They literally only did the mathematical section. There's so much more on the psychological section as well. Why would you argue with someone who's a partner? Me? A rival's partner? That's actually very funny because I'm not. And I've actually very explicitly said this many times. I chose at the start of Rivals not to be a part of it. And I am not in it. I signed nothing. I joined nothing. I have spoken with people from there based on interactions with my agency because I've had sponsors with them. So I've talked to like community managers and whatnot. But basically that's just to like set up promotion. Time is a flat circle at this point. Because unfortunately, the sad reality is today, where if we have a difference of opinion, I must have an ulterior motive, or in this case, like either one of us, right? And it's like, oh, it must be financial. It must be whatever. And it's like, that's not always true. And in this case, they really kind of came to the table with math. And it's actually much more complex than that. And I think they actually could have went way harder and basically said, there's going to be times where you queue and you're tilted. And there's going to be times that you queue and you notice these win streaks and losing streaks more. But like they don't actually happen like crazy all the time, but they do happen, right? They could have came out and said, you know, like, they could have said like so many things, like flaming your teammates or being stuck on an off roll. They could have done so many things. And they didn't do any of it. They only did math. So I think we're getting to a point though, where everyone has to be so tribalistic that we're not open to the idea that we're wrong in any way. And you are either against me or with me all the time. So, unfortunately, in this case, this is the first big quote-unquote scandal Rivals has had where the quote-unquote community, especially like the louder community, is very much against, or sorry, they believe that this system exists. And Rivals has had to go, we can't, they're not listening to them. This is the first time Rivals can't quote unquote listen, because they have to be like, hey, it's not real. I'm very curious on how they come back. Like, how do people respond? I feel like it still exists though, deep down. That's what I mean though. Like, we can't, this is why, chat, I got ahead of the curve. I had Retro put this out the other day. This is why we got ahead of the curve. Is Marvel Rivals unintentionally making a mistake? I wanted to put it out early, so you knew my thoughts before this even dropped. So, hey, listen, it's all back here. So, like, you can't say it's like, oh, I'm just coming off of this now. No, it's old. I was talking about this last week, and I said during that was, hey, listen, I don't think there's a win. Like, there is no winning in any of it. There's never a game that's perfect. You can only eliminate so many factors. And I think partly you do get games where you have someone forced on an off roll. You have someone flexing. You have someone trying new heroes. You have someone who's tilted. You have somebody who is like kind of bringing down everybody on the team. Like the vibes are bad. They're shit talking everyone. They're typing. Something comes up. Their PC crashes, right? Like, you can't eliminate all the people factors too, right? And just like gambling, right? Like in gambling, like there's a lot of ways and like a lot of card games to get pretty close to like good odds in your favor, right? And even so, you still will always, you always lose in the long run, you know? It is what it is. So